All right, at 6 o'clock, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Looking for an approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, comments from the public.
Mr. Chairman, we have one comment tonight that was submitted. It is from the GAEA Leadership Committee, expresses gratitude for your continued commitment to serving as board members, and we really appreciate them taking the time to do it. I will also note that there are cookies here from the GAEA.
I'm taking very good care of them.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Might even share later. Okay, moving on to E1, listening session, discussion. And what is on the agenda is to discuss whether, wrong one. Changing the time of the listening sessions, because we've had a lack of participation. There's only been 2 or 3 people at each of the listening sessions that want to come and speak. And so there was some discussion at moving the times to either be from 5 to 6, with the board meeting beginning at 6:30, which would get us all home a little earlier, or 5:30 to 6:30, which may allow people to come after work and be at the listening session. So let's go ahead and have a little discussion on what we think about this, or do we keep it the same?
Brad?
No, I'm sorry, Pete.
No problem. We just haven't had much turnout for these things, so we get there and we kind of sit there after the first 15, 20 minutes. So I think everyone's up to the idea of if more people start coming, we'll open up the bandwidth again to take more. But right now, it kind of leaves a big void, nothing going on for quite a while. So I think if we move up to 5 to 6, my only issue with that at all would be the idea of if we assume most people work till 5, they're not going to get there and get on the list. So how would we make sure those people that, get on the list if they're not the first ones there? As long as we're good with that, I'm good with whatever.
My comments would kind of echo that. Just if we were going to change it, the 5:30 to 6:30 just would give people time at work to be able to get there after work if that's fits better with their schedule.
Okay. Ryan?
First, I not having a lot of participation is either good news or bad news. Either folks are generally happy with how things are going and how we're doing, or they think we're a hopeless case and there's no point in engaging us. I hope it's the first and not the second. I'm good with either, with the understanding that we can expand these things back to an hour and a half, or even run over on any given meeting if that's appropriate. So I can go either way.
Ryan, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, earlier is better, but not by a large margin. If the work thing's an issue, and I'd hate for somebody not to be able to come because they had to work or for any other reason. So I'm good either way, and kind of whatever we think around
Yeah.
that.
My personal opinion is I kind of lead to the 5:30, just to allow people to be able to come and speak to us if they want to. It gives them a little time after work to make it there. And it's four meetings a year. So it's not like we're talking a huge amount of time. So I guess we're looking for a motion here.
I'll make a motion for option 2, moving our listening sessions from a 5:30 to 6:30 with the board meeting at 7, with the caveat that we all discussed. If all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of people that want to come and we're unable to meet the need for the questions, we open it back up.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we now get to the inclement weather. So on the agenda is to discuss whether to make up the inclement weather days. Per the calendar, February 19th, President's Day, and the week after school releases, June 17th and 21st, are designated as potential inclement weather makeup date options. And we need to make a decision on basically what we want to do and how many days we want to make up.
So, I have I would propose, and I won't put it in a motion yet, that we do in fact use President's Day, which is February 19th, for one makeup day, and then would make up the other day. I think June 20th is the last day of school now. Is that right?
It's June 16th, perhaps?
Yep.
So June
June-
13th is the last half-day.
June
June 13th, Thursday, June
13th is a half day, but it's not an instructional day. I would prefer that we make June 13th a full day of school and make that an instructional day. That would cover both of the days that had been missed.
So the only caveat Ryan brought up at the beginning of just prior to the meeting, that there is a contract language for that we will need to work with the union to get okay on that, because there is contract language guaranteeing teachers what a half day the last day is a half day. And that was that language for elementary?
Yeah, I think it's for everybody.
Good catch. And we would just need then to seek there. And the fallback would be that we would just
Well-
have to designate another full day.
Okay.
They could get the additional half day, but then that would be on the 21st.
Yes.
Pete, you had something?
I just, in current kids being behind, pandemic, everything else, I don't see how we miss hours of instruction. So I kind of, how we do that, I defer to, what you find as the best way to do. But I think we need to have the days.
So are you saying a
Unless you
half
thi-
day
unless you think it's
becomes a
spring
full
break.
day?
What?
No.
So,
Touching Memorial Day, not touching spring break.
And we also could look at doing those early release days, getting hours back then. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities
Yeah.
to think
Or
about.
lengthen every day by a little bit.
However, but I think the instructional time is the big thing for me.
So if you made, and again, it's the 13th, right? If you made the 13th an instructional day, the 14th would be at the discretion of whatever was worked out.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm ready to make those motions if
But
there's.
before we do, let's see if there's any more discussion. Ryan, did you have
Right, okay.
anything to add?
No, I mean, I think, we're not done with winter, right? So we're gonna have more days in front of us. Probably best to at least recapture that President's Day now. So that's fine.
Bite your tongue.
I know.
Go ahead, John.
my understanding would be, we would be instructional day on February 19th, full instructional day on June 13th, half instructional day on June 14th, and then grading on June 17th.
No, it would be, we will leave the 14th open to whatever.
We will need to work with the
Right.
union to
They-
the semantics of that, but we could make that other motion
but-
and work on it, yes.
Why don't we try to give Andy as much wiggle room as possible and basically say the 19th's an instructional day and we need another day for you to figure out.
So, point of order, could
That make
we,
it easier for you?
could we
or is it-
talk about the 19th and make a motion there and then take a peek at the rest of the time and come back at another meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
well, I
reason
think-
this is
Yeah,
being
let's
done
do
so
that.
quickly is so that people are
Understand the
ahead of
19th.
President's Day.
I think that's smart, and that gives time for them to kind of sort it out with the union and figure out what to do. Does that make sense?
I would approve we take action, so people have some certainty. And if there's a problem, with the caveat that if there's a problem with that and we need to do something different, come back to us and we'll figure something else out.
Oh,
But
the next meeting would be what, the 12th?
Yes.
Would that offer enough time for people in June to make plans? I would think. Just give them
Well,
a couple of weeks to
Yeah,
kind of sort it
and
out.
Considering that the scheduling would be from a half day to a full day, I don't think you would be impinging a lot on vacation plans at this point anyway, so.
Right.
But if the contract states we need to have a half day, then that would push
Yep.
that to a half day. It would be the Friday, the 14th, and then if we still need the day for grading, that would be that next Monday, the 17th of June. If that pushes all of that back, a full instructional day.
Yeah, and I think we would then be able to work with people as well around that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
So
So you're looking for a motion to add the President's Day back as an instructional day, and we'll bring the second day back for discussion at the next meeting. That's what I'm hearing.
I think myself is we want to capture the 19th, right? And we can, as a board, say we want to capture another day and then give him the ability to figure that out. But I'm good with whatever, but I think it seems like the consensus here is we don't want to miss instructional hours.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve February 19th to make up for the day missed due to inclement weather on January 16th.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then.
For
I
the
don't-
record, the motion passes unanimously.
It does pass unanimously. We're all under the hook on that one. And so do we need to pass a motion to come back and look at the other one, or we'll just come back on the next meeting? Okay, we'll just come back on the next meeting and we'll,
And that gives you good wiggle room, right? And you can figure it out.
Could we, for the record, show it's the consensus of the board to set a
second.
date for that makeup date and that
Figure out those
it will
hours.
in fact be made up?
Would we have to make a motion to give the discretion to make that negotiation between Mr. Gardner and the union to negotiate that for a contract? Or is that something we could just say,
Yeah, we
we'd like
can
you to
discuss
do and come back to us with what they decide?
So within the requirements you guys just set that we want to make up instructional time, right? The contract, I think there's, we understand the surround right now that we have to work within. So I think we'll be fine.
okay. And I would reiterate, it is a consensus of the board that we do want to make up both instructional days. Just so there's no confusion.
That's the big thing.
Perfect, thank
All
you.
that, then we'll move on to superintendent comments, please.
Well, just want to make sure that you guys have seen that there are several posters in the room. We have posters here tonight expressing appreciation for your service from Waverly, North Albany Elementary, Meadow Ridge, Oak Elementary, and Tangent. We have cards from Oak Grove. We have cards and hats from Timber Ridge. And of course, the dinner came from West Albany High School and was awesome. And thanks again to the Association for Cookies, which we haven't dug into yet, I don't think.
Not yet.
So,
Well, maybe.
yeah,
As far as you know.
Can neither confirm nor deny.
okay.
I like the frustrating.
So just want to add my own appreciation to your work. Coming from a district where we met once a month, the people from North San Am have said, man, we do a lot. And that's a time commitment on your part, and we appreciate that, right? There's a lot of work, and we appreciate that it feels like you're on the edge of your chairs when the principals are here talking about kids, and you guys follow up with great questions. That is important, right? It's board learning, and want to give you kudos for that. Just a few things in general. The next 5 months are going to be budget with an eye to bargaining. We have an open contract again with GAEA. I would say that our challenge this year continues to be the challenge that districts throughout the state are having with making sure that people who have experienced inflation have some means. We need to continue to be competitive in this environment. The workforce is our number one challenge, and it's our number one strength. And we want to make sure that we are able to set a budget up that is able to accommodate that. One of the real challenges that I think you're seeing with Portland Public is they came into bargaining on the assumption that 2.5 was what the state had funded them, right? So we got a budget that reflected about 2.5%, and they offered that and built a budget around that. And so now they're on the back end of having given increases. Now they need to cut. You generally tend to cut twice as many positions because there's only a half year left to balance that budget. So a full position for a year is the equivalent of if you have to begin to release staff in the middle of the year, you need 2 for every 1. And so it is our intent this year to build the budget and put together the best offer that we can. That forces us to look at programming that we have taken on in the community over time. One of the things is Maple Lawn Preschool. I think we're very close to an agreement right now to be able to have a different community partner take that on. We're working right now with Lynn Benton Lincoln, and we think that is very close to becoming a reality. And I want to appreciate their work and willingness to do that. at this time, and we'll have an announcement. You guys will see that announcement when we do that. The negotiations are opening with the teachers' union. We received communication this last month requesting that we begin to open. And there's a lot of work to do there still. I have been really pleased with the relationships that have begun to grow there, and it is our intent that we will be able to grow those as we do it. Snow days, obviously, we talked about that. If we do the 2 days, we remain above the state minimum required instructional hours. It's about a day and a half that we start with. We have that much cushion to begin. 1 day alone would not take us under the hours. 2 days took us under the hours, and so we can return to that. If we affect what you guys have said, then there would be a day of cushion remaining, depending on what events happen. Historically, it can happen in February, right? And historically, it's even happened as late as spring break, the week before spring break. I think 2012, that we lost 3 days that week around the valley in the last week before spring break. So we'll just watch that, and if we do that, then we'll just have to come back and think about what we're gonna do. So I do want to make a couple of kudos to Mr. Dave Bolin, who spent a lot of his life out driving and responding to broken pipes. And we all got movies of those as he did it. Apparently there's a new way to clear parking lots. You just drive in circles and smash as much ice and slush as you can. And that was done. I want to thank Michelle Steinhabel for her work as well on the communication. She would generally be building 2 different drafts and would be ready to go when that happened. I also want to thank the staff who was responding. I know that there were a couple of people out at South Albany. Mr. Bullen raced Tony Mata here as they were cleaning the water out of the cafeteria. But it was just obvious that there were people here that were working beyond the clock, and I appreciate that. We have the assistant superintendent position open right now, and our timeline is to close that February 2nd. And there's been interest and activity, and we'll be putting that together. Hopefully, we'll be able to announce that position sometime in the middle to late February. We'll keep you apprised of that as we go, and that's all I've got.
Any questions for the superintendent?
When do you intend to fill the assistant superintendent position?
Mid to late February. I think the,
Start date of next year?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other questions for the superintendent? All right, let's go to board member reports. Want to go first?
Me to go first?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for I got a cool hat. Dinner was delicious, so appreciate all of those. I had a chance to go to South Albany last week and got to see their Red Hawks Rising. You guys will hear a little bit about that, but really cool program. Lots of kids just working on homework after school, which is pretty cool to see, and a really good turnout. And I appreciate Mr. Hunter showing me around, so that was cool too.
I want to acknowledge employees and families and kids and parents and grandparents and everybody that had to go through everything during this inclement weather. It was quite a test for our community. It looks like the district came out of it fairly well in the way of lack of damage, if you will, and just acknowledge everybody pulling together and doing the best we could during that challenging time. I also got to say, I'm ecstatic to see a dollar amount and the words construction of softball field that will come later, and I look forward to that conversation.
I just want to echo the sentiment thank you for all the appreciation, both for the dinner and for the gifts and the cards. It's fantastic just to see the kids' drawings and the thank yous and the notes they have for us. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
I also just want to say thanks for the dinner, the cards, the hat. Very much appreciated. Thank you for the thought. Thank you for the effort that goes into that. I want to say thank you, like Andy was saying, to all the staff. I think the weather stuff is always tough, but I thought we did a really good job. Thank you, Dave, and your team for going out and checking it out and putting out messages and all that kind of stuff. it's a really hard thing to do because you never know how quickly it's going to go away, right? But I mean, one of the beautiful things about it is, I think we can look back on it and think, hindsight, we did really well, which is nice. That's not always something you can say. So that's perfect. I want to say thank you to both Andy and Chris for getting us, all board members, kind of set up on a school visit scenario. I know we're kind of moving that along. I think that's really important, and I appreciate it. And I think it's really good for us to kind of have a regular drumbeat of seeing the schools. It allows us to be better informed and make better decisions. I want to say, and obviously, if you've heard me talk at any of these, you know that I'm kind of big on grades and grading, especially when it comes to the middle schools. It's been a topic. The district agrees and understands that our current protocols at the middle school level need to be improved to better prepare our students for high school and their futures beyond. With that in mind, we will try to improve the system for our 8th graders for this year's second term. And we'll be putting together a working group to improve all of the middle school grading from the start of our next school year. I think that's really important. I think that'll help us have more 9th graders on track. I'm typical. Let's do it now, right? So Andy's like, let's talk about it. Let's do things. And I get that. And there's some value to that. And so we're going to get some smart people and talk about it. And I think it'll be good for our kids in general, which is fantastic. That's all I got.
All right. Dave, thank you for all your work you did on the schools, broken pipes and all that. It's not fun, and appreciate you going out there and doing that. And for everyone who the hat, the cookies, I thank you very much. Just to kind of set the table a little bit, what West Albany Culinary, the bistro class, set up for us. They just walked by. I was trying to get their attention. I was going to drag them in here, but we had tri-tip beef, Caesar salad, focaccia bread, and the best part, I didn't have the vegetables, sorry, I was bad. But the best part was the carrot cake cupcakes, which there are a few left if anybody is interested. They are super good. So got to give them kudos for those. Those were excellent. I'm not a huge dessert guy, but that was awesome. That's basically all I have for that. Now we can go to student member reports. And Hadley, you want to go first?
Okay, so the Environmental Club has had a lot of plans in place for plantings and possible cleanups, but has had to cancel and postpone due to the weather. Youth and Gov had their pre-ledge on the 15th, where they practiced parliamentary procedure and participated in workshops for their bills. The last Flash meetings were a couple of weeks ago, and Flash is only in the first semester, so it was sad to say goodbye to the freshmen, kind of. High Steppers seniors had All-State this weekend. There are about 100 dancers totals and 3 seniors from West. Shout out to Lily Bennett and Sarah Ward from West, ended up on the All-State team. Cheer had a competition this weekend. Varsity cheer placed 3rd on Saturday and 1st on Sunday. Basketball had a few games postponed due to the cancellation, and the program instead played against South on the 20th, and teams also played against Corvallis on the 18th. Wrestling also had a few tournaments canceled due to school cancellations, and I believe there was a novice tournament today at 4 and a duel against Dallas tomorrow. The winter formal was on Saturday the 20th at 8. Everyone came dressed in formal wear, and there were quite a few masquerade masks. There was a photo station that students could do, and all the photos were uploaded onto a Google Drive for students to access. There was also a water station and a lukewarm hot chocolate station being bartended by Kyle Kenyon and Kyle Hall. On Sunday, students helped take down all the decorations and return the commons to normalcy at 12. There will be a meeting on Wednesday for students, specifically seniors, who are interested in getting the seal of biliteracy. Lunch is now available at no charge for any students at West Albany, and I know a few of the students who had brought this concept a little more light, and it's just kind of exciting to see that action was taken. Finals are next week, and we typically operate on a different schedule. This Friday will be an all-meeting day where students go to every single class. And before each final day on Tuesday and Thursday next week, there will be a complete study day. And then the Bistro class is hosting a culinary event on Thursday the 25th during lunch, and students should expect a price range of $1 to $5. And for some spoilers of Thursday's treats, there will be a range of different fries, tacos, sweet treats, and delicious drinks.
Raphael, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that it's great to be back again. I haven't been able to come to one of these meetings in a while, and I'm really glad to see that everything's going good. First thing is our Martin Luther King Junior Day basketball game against West. Got canceled sadly, but it was an amazing collaboration, and our plan was really amazing. And I just want to say that we really look forward to working with West again, and just collaborating like that with other classes and schools really is helpful. And we also have our finals coming up. Students are starting to buckle down and prepare. It's a little stressful, but we also know that there's plenty of opportunity to distress and debrief right before it happens. For example, our CCLA program is selling Rice Krispie treats every morning to make sure that students have the ability to get a little snack in before they have to start really getting their work done. And we're also having a movie night this Friday in our library. That's going to be at 7 o'clock, and we're going to be watching the Pixar movie Cars. From what I hear, it's going to be free to all students and just going to be a day to relax right before finals weeks happen. And we have had our play, the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It was really fun, lots of great turnouts, and we also offered 30 of our rowdy points, which, as I brought up before, are a point system that our school uses to have incentive for showing up to more things and just having a lot of fun and being awarded for doing so. And we also have our winter sports starting back up again, their practices and their games and stuff. We missed a couple of days with the snow, but it's glad to see that everything's starting to get back to where it was before. And I just wanted to say that as soon as our school started back up, I saw a lot of students really happy that they got to be there. I know that's usually not how it goes, but a lot of them genuinely missed each other and really appreciated that their teachers were willing to cut back a bit for getting back into the swing of things.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Gardner, if you would introduce our next speaker, please.
Yeah, this is the first of two school presentations tonight. The South Albany School Administrators, and I think they have a couple teachers with them. They have been called the Dream Team. And so we welcome them tonight and look forward to that. Go ahead, Mr. Hunter. You want to introduce your...
trouble for the Dream Team. Apparently, this is my second Dream Team, so apologize. I got caught. Thank you for having us tonight. We appreciate the opportunity to come talk about the Red Hawks and the great things that are going on at South Albany High School. And I brought a group of people because I think it's real important to understand that the work doesn't get done from the people up top, myself, but we have great people around us. And so I wanted you to hear from some of them tonight as we talk a little bit about programs. I'm going to kind of foreshadow a little bit of what we'll talk about. I've been told I need to go faster this year. I tend to talk a lot, and then they didn't have a chance to talk last year. So I'm going to try to stay on task. But behind you, you can kind of see the team. Anna Harriman is the newest addition, but just a fantastic administrative team. They're doing some fabulous work that you'll see tonight from them. You can look at our mission. This year, we decided on a retreat, we're going to go back to the foundation of family and relationships. It's kind of what got South Albany to the point they were before COVID of being really successful as a school. And so we're back to those systems. And if you look over, our vision is really talking about, we've added as Abbott has too, the college and career readiness. We have some great CT programs at South Albany High School. And so that's also a big focus. If you'll look through our stuff tonight, I think you remember last year, we didn't put it in this year, but our CT completers usually are 92 to 94% grad rate. So those students that go through CT programs. So it's also a very important part of our culture and our schools. So anyway, though, so you'll see that here. I'm going to foreshadow demographics a little bit. Probably the biggest thing you'll see is we're at 1,512 students. And if you look at freshmen and sophomores, they're both over 400. If the trend continues, I'm a little scared of how many kids we can cram into South Albany High School, but we're on the path to be 1,600 shortly. So that's probably the most prominent trend. If you also look, it's very interesting, our Latino Hispanic population is about 35%. It's a little higher than what is here. But in addition, something we really noted, but our white students is 59%. So I think you can see increasingly how diverse South Albany is coming, and pretty soon, maybe to be at 50% white, a lot of other cultures and races there. So I think that's one thing that's really neat about South Albany, and it's continuing, that pattern's continuing. And we, again, it's nice to hear about West Albany, but we are free and reduced, 100% free and reduced lunch, and that's fantastic and great for all kids. If you can spread the wealth, I think that was great news to hear. So all of our kids are free and reduced. So, but those are the two biggest trends for us as a school.
John,
And-
can I ask a question? What's the 1373 enrollment students we serve? How
That
is
was when the last state report card.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
kind of just updated, foreshadowing what we are now, because, they're a year, data's state report card's a year behind your grad class. So it's just foreshadowing where growth is coming. And then here, this would be where we're standing with some of our things, and you can see the regular tenders you'll hear about. Attendance is a big focal point for us. On track freshman graduation, you'll hear about it. It's at 73%. It's moving in the right direction, and you'll hear some great stuff that we're doing in that area, and that's one of our biggest focal points as a school. I'd say probably our biggest focal point. The next slides will show you a little bit more. On-time graduation, the 84% was a miscalculation. It was almost 86%. And you'll see kind of our growth as we show you what we expect to see in our state report card that will be validated maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks of what we will be the following state report card. And I'll kind of give you an idea what I think that will be. 5-year completers is 86. It dropped a little bit. We will be in the 90s on the next state report card without a doubt. That was kind of some COVID lag that I'll explain on the next slide. College bound went a little bit down. We don't feel that number is really accurate for us. We think it's closer to 70. The tracking of that is fairly difficult, but still a focus that with college and career ready, we're trying to get kids there. So, and this gives you a little bit of what you hear today. Our 3 main focuses here: grad rate, 4 years, our 9th grade on track rate, and then students enrolled in advanced courses, juniors and seniors. And my team back here will talk a little bit about it. Then some of the groups that we know we're working hard with: students with disabilities. We definitely have achievement gaps, and that's a main focal point. And then English language learners, a little bit of a gap. And then our third focal group, Hispanic Latino, believe it or not, is amazing. They actually have a higher graduation rate than our general population at South Albany High School. So we have done some fantastic things with them, catching them up. And they'll stay as a focal group because it's important that we continue the good work. There's our population becomes more diverse. So the next slide, I'll show you a little bit more. This is kind of where we started. My first year at South, we were at 88.89% grad rate. We were consistently in the 80s. COVID, the class that got damaged the most for us so far, 21-22, we dropped to 82%. We have now having the number back almost to 86%. And as I explained to you, we're projecting that our grad rate coming up will be about anywhere from 87.5 to 88.5%. So I think we're back on track to be where we were and where we want to be. And our goal, if you continue to look, is to get to 90% in the next state report card, and we're on track. Our goal this year was 88% as we looked at our 5-year plan. So I think we're right on track. South Albany has never had a 90% grad rate, so that's going to be a great goal for especially the next principal, but I think they'll be set up to succeed with that. So, and then this just gives you another chart. It gives you a little more visual of seeing where the red and the yellow are our 2 groups, English learners and special education students. And you can see the gap a little bit from the blue and the green, which is all students and Hispanic Latino. So you can see where we're trying to get the very end of this to catch up groups and get above 90%. So that's where we're heading and the foreshadowing, and you're going to hear a little more detail about our 3 goals from some people that are coming up now. Well, I guess I got one more slide for you. There you go. I got all excited because I'm trying to hurry for The things we're doing, our AVID systems, you'll hear a little bit about that. We're a national demonstration school. AVID this year is a revalidation year. We're on track at this moment to be revalidated and be still one of the only 3 high schools in Oregon to be a demonstration school. And we were the first one. So this will be the first time we've revalidated to become an AVID demonstration school again. We've looked at expanding intervention opportunities. You'll hear a little bit about that. We realigned our administrative team. We kind of stole a little bit of what West Albany was doing, and we went from having alphabetical groups for administrators and counselors to following students. So we have a freshman administrator, sophomore administrator, junior, and a senior. Feel like that gives us a better idea of where our kids are and not jumping from different classes as well. So, and then we have the Center of High School Success, and I think you'll hear about that, and that's if you asked us what the most important thing we're doing this year, it's about getting freshmen on track, finding better systems to keep them on track, because we feel like our grad rate at the end, we feel like we have a solid grasp on that. What we do is we lose younger kids, and then we have to work really hard to graduate them. And what we're trying to do is take those younger kids, freshmen, so we have to do less work, get them on track early, and do less work with their juniors and seniors. So that is really what I think is going to be our most important work in the next couple of years. And Tony Mott will talk about that in a little bit, maybe right now.
All right, so I think John had said, our freshman on track is one of our most important areas that we're looking at. And I think part of this work, you always heard that your senior year is your most important. And in our work with the Center for High School Success and Deb Odell, and I did some of that work before coming back to GAPS this year, that your freshman year is your most important year, right? So students on track at the end of their freshman year are 3 times more likely to graduate than their off-track peers. So in working with the Center for High School Success, we identified, based on past numbers, where we want to get over the next 3 or 4 years, with eventually getting everybody to that 90% range, from our students with disabilities to our English learners to our Hispanic Latino students. As we raise those numbers, then the overall numbers all go up. I say we still have some heavy lifting to do as a team. We're learning what works and what doesn't work, and each school's different. We've gotten some great ideas from Deb Odell and the Center for High School Success, ideas that are outside the box, in terms of, as we come down to the end of the term, Deb's saying, well, can you change your schedule and do these things? It's like, well, in a perfect world, you'd be able to do whatever. But we have some constraints that we're working through. We have some great programs. We have a core group of teachers from every content area, so English, math, social studies, science, that we meet with Caitlin Sawyer, who's gonna come up here later, and we identify those kids that are regular attenders or above 80% attendance but struggling in class, because one of the keys is, obviously, you can't implement an intervention if you're not coming to school. So with those interventions that we're looking at with kids, and we talk to individual teachers, and then we meet as a big group as well with all of our freshman teachers, and we talk about kids, and it's like, what are they doing? Hey, they're succeeding in English. What are you doing differently than their math teacher where they're struggling with? What's that relationship look like? And it's all relational, right? Encouraging staff and kids to build those relationships of trust, so that when you have something going on, you can talk to somebody, right? And you feel that connection with kids. I think we have a great staff, and they've jumped both feet in, and we're working on those interventions, and some of them work and some of them don't. So you go to the next one, and I think Deb Odell and the Center for High School Success, she's been really good with ideas and thoughts. We actually have a meeting tomorrow, and her email today was, hey, both high schools, we love where your trend's going, right? We know we have some work to do with our students with disabilities and our English learners, but we feel like we're going to get there. And I was probably, I don't know, maybe overly optimistic in in August saying, I think we can get to, for me, I would have said, hey, we get everybody to 95% this year, but we're taking the steps to get there over the next couple of years, and that'll impact our grad rate. I think the Center for High School Success has been really good for us. Our core ninth grade group has been really good in bouncing ideas off each other. Some of our struggles, I think, is our schedule a little bit. And so I'm interested as we move forward what next year's schedule potentially could look like in terms of opportunities for kids. And I'm maybe jumping the gun, but I assume we're probably going to be on a block schedule potentially, which gives kids 8 opportunities in a semester as opposed to the 7 that they currently have. And as I look at our ability to meet with teachers on Wednesday early release, and kind of sort of the adaptation we've done with that a little bit, and Stafford being really upfront with, hey, if you need to meet, right, then meet with the teachers that you need to meet, even if it's not a day for those guys. So we have to pay them for a half an hour, or we have funds set aside for that. So we've done that as well, and I think we're on the right track. I think we're working in a trajectory that looks good for us, and I think the realignment. So I have a counselor. I actually have 2 counselors that work with freshmen, and I work with freshmen, and so it's something new every day, right? They're a challenge every day, and there's great things every day. But me getting to be able to just have freshmen, and they're not spread out amongst the administrators or the counselors, makes it easier to get to know kids and to delve into, what's really the reason you're not at school, or what's really the reason you're not being successful, and how can we help? And I think we have a really good group of people. Questions?
Can you just elaborate just for a second? What do you think the impediments are with the current schedule for this work?
So currently, I would love to see, in a perfect world, us be able to offer all of our freshmen that aren't in AVID a freshman success class that talks about study skills and organizational skills and some of those sort of things that really will help you be successful high school and beyond. I think that opportunity for those kids, because they come to us, a good chunk of kids that don't have those sort of skills. I think the conversation, and I heard Mr. Morse say about 8th grade grading, I'm like, all right, because I think if you can get 50% on an assignment you never did, right, those kids aren't ready, right? They don't understand that when we have tons of conversations, and I think Caitlin could probably address this, she meets with individual kids. They don't have any idea the concept of you're going to get 0 if you don't turn that in, right? And so preparing those kids, and some of it is coming out of middle school, but some of it is just the impediments in our schedule and being able to put them all. If you're not an AVID kid, you don't have that AVID support, we can develop a class. I call it freshman success, right? I know South had it years ago. I know we brought it into Philomath, and every freshman kid is in a freshman success class first semester, learning about organization and study skills, and and those best practices, right? The way you take notes and how you use those notes when you study and all that sort of stuff.
So just to clarify, I can't believe you're not doing this, but I will. If at least 8th graders didn't get 50% for not turning a paper in, if they actually got 0, like they're going to get in high school, that would help you to do your job and better position 9th graders to be on track to graduate.
I would think, yes, absolutely. I think it'd help them understand that you don't get credit for doing nothing, right? I mean, if I don't know, I think if I went to work every day and said, I don't feel like doing that today, there's going to be a consequence, right? It's going to impact me some way. So yeah, I think, I go, okay, let's say 6th graders get 50%, 7th graders get 25. As an 8th grader, you got to carry the load, right? And teach those kids that this assignment means something all the way through, right? K-8. If you're a first grader, you become a second grader. You become a third grader. You become right. If you're a freshman and at the end of your freshman year you don't have 6 credits, you're off track, right? And that takes some heavy lifting to get you back on there, right? And South has done it over the years in terms of graduation numbers, right? That high percentage, but it's taken way more work than it should if we could address it prior to in 7th and 8th grade, and then early on in their freshman year, they already know this stuff is meaningful, right? The state says these are the standards, you have to know them.
So just while you're standing there, is there a committee on this issue?
He's on it now.
Oh, good, thank you.
gonna be
All
one.
right.
Well, I want
Welcome.
to second what Roger said. I can't believe that you let that go.
Oh, I heard it.
Believe me, I heard it. Why do you not dive on the microphone? I can't even.
Trying not to pile in.
Beyond grading in eighth grade, is there anything else that we can do to help get the eighth graders ready to come to you?
I think we've talked about in our small group opportunities for some of our teachers to go to the middle schools and have conversations. Let's say every eighth grader's in an English class, right? And have conversation with kids about what high school looks like. And even some of our kids, right? When we bring our freshmen in at the end of the eighth graders in at the end of the school year, right? Getting ready for the next fall, where we have some of those conversations, a panel of students and some of that. But we have teachers that would love to go down to the middle school in the spring and have conversations with classes of kids about what high school looks like and the expectation. So we talked about that some a little bit, and could we get a sub for a teacher? These three teachers, and they're going to go over to Calapooya, and they're going to spend the day at Calapooya talking to classes about what goes on in a high school classroom.
Okay, Pete, I'm
I-
finally ready.
Obviously, the grade thing is huge for me. The other thing that I think is part of it for the eighth graders and middle school in general is the idea that turning in your homework on time has value, right? And unfortunately, in the high school, because it's life, right? If you don't turn it in on time, there's consequences. In middle school, there is not. So we got to figure that out. We need to ramp them up like you're talking about so they're ready for it in high school.
And I'll be on that committee.
Yes, you will.
Advanced course enrollment.
All right, so I'm Bryce Bennett. I'm the junior administrator at South Albany High School. And this is work I'm very passionate about. So just to kind of piggyback about what John and Tony were talking about is two pieces. One, it's about the family aspect, and it's about taking care of students individually to get them to that point. So it's recognizing that there are opportunities after high school, and what do those opportunities look like, and how can we build our students to be successful at that next level? And part of that is a partnership with the middle schools to where we can continue to increase that. And so students are prepared, ready, recognize I'm not only graduating high school, that's used to be our trademark. We're going to just graduate high school. That's shifted significantly. Now it's college and career readiness. And so the little tiny chart down there at the bottom, really difficult to see, but I couldn't help myself to put it on there, is every single class that we offer at South Albany High School that's available through LBCC, Klamath Community College, or Portland Community College, where students can get college credit. And so we offer more college credit opportunities at South Albany High School than any other school in the Willamette Valley. That includes Eugene schools, Salem schools, and so on. And this is part of a structure that we've continued to develop, is recognizing you can be successful in college classes while you're in high school, and there are opportunities for you to go on to the next level. And so part of our progression is giving students opportunities to do those advanced courses, whether it's through taking classes at Lynn Benton Community College, taking College Now courses, as well as other options. We're also exploring the options of being able to do getting licensure or different programs. So for example, starting this next semester, we're working with NOCTI, which is a group that shows a licensure for culinary arts programs. So these students can then take that license, go and apply for a job as a chef or in a cooking background, and they're going to get an advantage over somebody else who might already have that high school diploma by having that certification and that licensure. So those are just some of the programs that we're talking about developing. And our advanced course enrollment, we've removed all parameters and barriers for our students. And you can tell there's classes on there. This isn't just advanced placement level courses. We're talking about career and technical education courses. And we're also talking about art classes and so on, where students can get college credit. And so these are some different things that we've done toward moving some priority action items toward making this happening. So we've continued collaboration. When LBCC said, no, you can't offer college credit for these courses, we reached out to Klamath Community College and Portland Community College in order to get some answers and to see what we can do in order to get students more college credit. We've had deep and rich conversations about recruitment into advanced courses. And so it's about that relationship factor once again. So it's about students thinking, yes, when you have a teacher, go to them and say, you should take my advanced course, you will be successful, or you should go into this advanced course. all of a sudden it's somebody believes in them and it changes that dynamic. And that's that family aspect. I've got a junior and a senior at South Albany High School, and I tell them all the time to challenge yourself and go to that. Some of our students don't get that opportunity. And that's where it falls on our job as educators in our building to help get students prepared and removing those barriers for moving into advanced classes. We've also our flight program, which is our advisory component. We've done a lot of advanced components within that. Caitlin Sawyer, who's going to speak in a little bit about our Red Hawks Rising program. She's also part of our freshman success coordinator. She's our high school success coordinator. And part of what that does is tracking and planning what's going to be happening in our advisory program and helping kids be college and career ready. So we've done a lot of work through West Ed in particular, through culturally responsive practices. We're doing a lot of work with our teachers toward making sure that all of our students are having the opportunity to be successful and removing some of those systemic barriers that have already been put in place for underrepresented populations. Also highly proud of our AVID program, where we were the first national demonstration school in Oregon. And we're about to go up for certification again. And we were pretty much told that you guys will be certified again because of the things and the work that we're doing for all the college and career readiness. So that's really short because Tony and John took all our time, but happy to field any questions if you guys have.
You have a question. So last meeting, we had a presentation from Stacy about the bilingual program. Does that align with this in any way with your advanced placement courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So very proud of our bilingual education program. And part of that is their junior year, they take AP Spanish language. And so all of our students that are in that bilingual education program, so currently there's about 60 in the AP Spanish class. And roughly 3/4 of them, 75%, will end up earning college credit for AP Spanish. And which looks great, of course, for colleges and fulfills that requirement to go straight into a four-year university automatically by getting that AP college credit. So also, as part of that, so the BEP 12 class, a lot of that has to do with a senior project and as far as what are you doing after high school. Our goal is with our BEP teachers is to get them AVID certified, so they're even bringing some of that AVID curriculum and instruction into their BEP classes, so it's all being tied in together. So this AVID is what we're using as our umbrella for our BEP program. If we do end up moving with a freshman success class, absolutely, those components are going to be embedded within that freshman success class as well.
Okay, thanks.
Go for it, Roger.
Might you tell me just generally the CT subject areas?
As far as the college and career?
Yeah, what are we teaching kids? Are we teaching them woodworking?
Yeah.
Teaching them how to weld? Are we teaching them how to do refrigeration repair? Elaborate on that a little bit.
Refrigeration repair will be a good one. That one's down the road. Okay. So we've got a spectacular welding and building trades program. So he does construction and framing as well as welding. And so they do get Portland Community College credit through welding certification and building framework. He builds sheds and dog houses for the community. So part of that is what we're working on. We've just started a marketing program at South Albany. This is our third year of having a marketing program. We've created a new student store that's on campus through a cart for that marketing program. And we want to do partnerships with our building trades to where they're actually selling the dog houses and everything through our entrepreneur marketing program. So that's kind of the building in that area. We have a cabinetry program as well. It's more of the fine woodworking. So, and then we've got different art programs. So we've got fine arts as well as digital arts, culinary arts. So we've got multiple programs.
Thank you.
Another thing that I would say, give kudos to Brad on this. We're trying to get like career or CTA tables into the high schools, like once
That'd
a
be
week,
awesome.
get some good, ATI or Sean's team or somebody's come in and say, hey, here's the different things you can do here locally. Here's the hoops you have to jump through to do it, just because like you said, the big thing is getting these kids to see an outside world, right? Here's the options. I think this is neat. So, all the stuff you're talking about, I think just is great. And thank you for your work. And we got to keep moving forward on all this stuff.
That'd be great. And Chair Wilson visited our school last year and saw our CT programs. And we'd absolutely love to get some businesses involved in our school and set up some tables for our kids. I think that'd be spectacular to come do some presentations in those classes, especially for those advanced classes, because that's how they're going to end up recruiting some of those kids. And I think there's a lot of different things that we can do to help garner that.
Yeah, my goal is to get a table set up there and have a different business in there every week. So if they have exposure to local businesses where they can go to work after school. And also, by the way, if you need somewhere for dog houses, the Bark Place would be happy to sell some some
Awesome.
doghouses.
I will share that.
Even though we don't, well, it's just my dog, but the other kind of bark.
Great.
Chairman?
Yes.
Question about the welding. You articulate with PCC. I know LBCC has quite a bit of fabrication.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you went with PCC?
So part of it has to do with each college has their own requirements, and it's individual by department as far as what they require a teacher to have in order to be able to give college credit for those courses. So, for example, when we're looking at all of our social studies, LBCC, their department chair, said that they are not going to be able to offer college credit for social studies classes without one of our teachers having a master's degree in social studies. And so we were able to work through Klamath Community College, who said as long as there's an articulation where it's matched up with what they're doing, and we can work together toward doing that, they don't have to have that master's degree in social studies in order to be able to earn college credit for that. It's similar through the welding program, and this is something that's been part of our program for several years. It's something we can explore. I'd love to bring it back to LBCC, being in our community and getting back to that community place, but initially that wasn't an option for our kids.
So follow-up question. You guys have 3 different sources that you get credit from. I've done work in this, and one of the big critiques that comes from universities is if you don't organize what kids are doing, then they end up as seniors having exhausted their financial aid because it counts with the credits. Do we have any sort of articulation that, like, what are we working towards? Do kids know that these are credits that will help them, right?
Yeah, so that's definitely part of our college and career planning. But so the way it works as far as college and financial aid, when this first came out a few years ago, huge red flags went up all over the place, and everybody was panicking over these College Now credits. For example, if you wanted to get a business degree, but you've got these credits in welding, for example, and you've got that, and that transfers over, that's going to count toward 150% of what it is. So, for example, if you needed 100 credits in order to graduate with your program, in order to get that associate's degree, if you come and you have 150 credits already, or if you end up with 150 credits, they're not going to pay for any additional credits through financial aid past that 150 credits. And so, however, there's an appeals process. So every single college and university has that appeals process, and pretty much it's a slam dunk from what I've heard based off of that. But when our teachers are giving college credit through this, that's part of a conversation that they're having with their students in this class. This is what it's going to go toward. You're going to end up getting 9 college credits in U.S. history in these areas. This is where it's going to count. This is where it's not going to count. So I feel like a few years ago, it was a big issue. I feel like it's probably water under the bridge for the most part now.
I have a quick question. I'm not sure who might best address this. Might be more relevant for the 9th grade. During the last listening session, we had a student asking about middle school credits or credits for high school for taking math classes in middle school. Is that something that would be helpful for getting on track? Is there thoughts, feelings, information about that, or how does that work?
Yeah, I can answer it, and Tony can chime in as well. Anna Harriman's also got a little bit more too, and then we can answer broader questions too. My background is in school counseling, and so in working with students who come in, if we're truly wanting students to have opportunities, especially for advanced tracks. So if a student wants to get into AP Calculus, for example, if we look at a typical progression, most freshmen would take Algebra 1, and then Geometry, Stats, Algebra 2, and Pre-Calculus. That's their 4 years. They wouldn't even make it to an AP Calculus track without having that algebra. What we've done is it's been a model to where we get recommendations from the middle school based off of an exam that they take at the end of the year. These kids are ready for Algebra 1. These kids are not ready for Algebra 1. Or ready for geometry and can advance past Algebra 1. These kids are not ready for it. And what's happened is there's been a little bit of subjectivity related to that, to where we get different recommendations from the different middle schools. And so if there's an opportunity for students to be able to get that math credit while they're in middle school, first of all, there's a lot of schools across the state that already do that. And then we get questions all the time. Well, why didn't my kid took that in 8th grade? Why didn't they get credit? Sorry, we can't. It's not the agreement that we have at our district. But what we're talking about is giving kids more credits. When we're talking about that freshman on track data, that's going to automatically improve that freshman on track data because they're going to get those additional credits. It's also going to give kids an opportunity to be able to show that they've learned those skills while they're in middle school. And if it's part of that articulation where where Tony's talking about where possibly some of our teachers are working more closely with middle school teachers and making sure that if they're getting Algebra 1 credit at this middle school, it's going to be the same as the Algebra 1 credit from this other middle school, then it should show that they're absolutely ready to move on to that advanced track. So for me personally, I think it's a win-win. There's no negative toward doing it, as long as there's collaboration with the high schools about what that looks like to get Algebra 1 credit.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. So we're not giving eighth graders a high school credit when they take and pass a high school test?
It's not a high school test. So
Or
it's
a
not,
high school class?
what it's doing is it's showing algebra proficiency. So it's basically a proficiency exam showing that they have algebra proficiency in order to be successful at a next level.
So it's not a high school class. It's a high school class, but they don't take the high school class test. Which is it?
That's,
Yes, is
So
the
it's
answer to the
not-
question?
yes. So, and no. So it is, it's a proficiency exam, but it's not, we currently do not have an agreement where any classes that are taken at the middle school can count toward high school.
Okay, so I'm honing in on the,
Not true for geometry. They can get credit for geometry.
We don't, none of our feeder schools have geometry.
No, but they can take it at the high school.
Yes, so what Susie's referring to is we have students all the time, we've got 2 currently right now, that are coming up from the middle school that are on a significantly advanced track, actually taking geometry at South Albany High School.
so I'm honing in on the agreement. The agreement with who? Between who?
Greater Albany Public Schools, it's just how I've been for 21 years at South Albany. There hasn't been an opportunity for students to get high school credit while they take that with a middle school teacher.
It's an internal rule.
The middle school teachers is the key component. If they take it with a high school teacher, they can get high school credit for it. If they take it with a middle school teacher, they cannot get high school credit.
So this is an internal rule.
Correct. That is correct.
So we don't even know if it's just a board policy
They don't.
that I could make a motion to waive right now.
I bet Susie knows a lot about this.
She's going to tell me.
Go ahead, Susan.
So it hasn't been the same where the exact same standards are taught and the exact same assessment. And the end of the year final is not the same final at the high school, so it's not articulated the same Algebra 1 class. They're taking a test to see if they're proficient enough to move on. And in geometry classes in high school, they review some of the algebra standards in those classes as well. But the other thing is that you need to remember that, that you're talking about students in middle school taking Algebra 1. Those should be your top math students, right? And you want to encourage them to take 3 years of math in high school. And if we give credits too early, then students won't take classes beyond a certain amount. We've had lots of committees and lots of talk about this, but currently it is not the same Algebra 1 coursework exactly the same as it is in middle school and at the high school level.
Thank you.
So it would be something that I would suggest voting on tonight. If
You
they-
would?
I would not,
oh,
because
Roger's got a motion ready, right now, ready to roll.
I think it's one of those things where we can have discussion about articulation, and if it's the exact same, and it's going to be beneficial for students in the future.
I mean, if they're going to take that early, they could be required to take 3 years of math in high school as a prerequisite of getting that credit.
Not if they've already earned
I
a
mean,
credit and
So what would be the point of
transcribed.
that? The reality is it's been a staff decision, and we're trying to make something that's a staff decision, a board decision. I'm not sure why. Right? I mean, do we not think the staff can make this decision on their own? I guess. I don't see why this would need to be a board issue.
It
I
is-
just don't.
And the math teachers are the experts, and I think that it could be something that is talked about again, but I know that currently, it's not exactly taught exactly the same.
Just personal experience, I think it's been a couple of years, but I was at Western University over in Lebanon as the medical students were coming in, and there was a surprising number of those that they'd already gone to college for 4 years, but a surprising number of those were still fairly young, 20, 21. And in talking to them and hearing their stories, they went to schools that allowed them to begin accumulating high school credits before they were in high school. And so did they take math? Didn't take more? I don't know. I think it turned out okay for them. They're enrolling in medical college at the age of 20.
And we allow that. We have kids that transcribe geometry and Spanish and all kinds of things. We have kids that
If
come
it's-
from
if they
middle
take it at the high
school,
school.
and they both, they take them at the high school and they earn credit while they're in middle school.
Okay.
At both high schools.
Good evening. I'm Anna Harriman. I'm the newest member of the admin team at South, but I was part of the original dream team, so I think that gives me some seniority, you know. This slide's about some of our barriers and challenges. We picked kind of three that align with some of the things we've talked about already tonight. The first one is attendance continues to be an ongoing concern for us, especially post-COVID. So in our last state report card, it showed that our regular attenders, so those who are here 90% or more of the time, were only 53% of the time compared to the state average of 62%. Prior to COVID, the 2 years before, we were at 73 and 68% respectively. So that's kind of a goal for us to start returning up towards that direction. When we pull our year-to-date attendance average, it's at 83.3%. Synergy pulls that in half-day and whole-day increments, so that data is not spot on by like period attendance. If we looked at every single period, what our average would be, that data is kind of harder to weed out from Synergy. But that gives us an idea that so far this year, we are seeing that positive trend in attendance. Some of the things we're doing about that is pulling weekly data on attendance from the week before, looking at who wasn't here and why. So I have the sophomores at South Albany, so I pull all the sophomores' attendance from the week before, and I put it on a Google spreadsheet. I share it with my counselor. I share it with our bilingual family outreach coordinator. I share it with our attendance secretary, and we go through that list and figure out what's going on with those kids and try to figure out where the patterns are, where the issues are, where the outliers are, and address it accordingly at an individual level with each kid, but also looking at some of those larger systems. Another barrier we have is that 9th grade success classes that Mr. Mata already addressed on, so I won't go into that too much. But as we look at next year's schedule, and the same goes with our SPED and ELD students having lower graduation rates, what can we do with our schedule changes in our systems to build more interventions into our school to bring those numbers up? And the newest, and I talk the least. Any questions? Okay. Oops, I went too far.
So my name's Caitlin Sawyer. I'm a counselor at South, and I kind of help lead the freshman success team with Mr. Mata.
And I'm Lauren Birchfield. I'm an instructional coach, and I oversee the AVID program at South Albany.
So I also oversee the Red Hawks Rising program, which is a really big point of pride, something I am really passionate about and just genuinely love to do because it's a great environment and really fun. But it's an after-school academic enrichment program, and we run in 6 to 8 or 10-day chunks, essentially. So in the fall, we ran every Tuesday and Thursday from October through mid-November from 3 to 4:30. Really, it's 2:50 to 4:30 because kids show up as soon as that last bell rings, but easier to say 3 to 4:30. Where kids can come. It's really inviting. It's low-key, but also definitely productive, encouraging those kids to get that homework done. Just a few fun pictures from the fall. All of the numbers that are on the slide, I think are pretty impressive. Last school year, it was an extra 52 hours of additional academic support. Over 1,000 different students attended. Our highest attendance day was over 120 individual students who are choosing to come to this, and that's even without transportation provided. That would be something that I would love to be able to build into the program in the future, because that is a barrier for a lot of our students to attend, is they have to ride the bus home. So 120 without being able to provide attendance or transportation at the end is pretty great. Last school year, over 2,000 assignments were turned in at Red Hawks Rising. With our 10 days this fall, and we're right in the middle of another session right now going up until finals through next Tuesday. We've already had over 150 assignments turned in just 3 days in those hour-and-a-half chunks. 70 kids on our first day, 100 kids on our second day, and even last Thursday with all of the weather barriers, we still had over 50 kids on that Thursday. So the kids are saying they love it. There's a lot of different students who show up and help, and we have a pretty incredible core staffing team that come and help. So we have a few science teachers, one math teacher a day, a few of our special education teachers help really consistently. So it's really great. And not only does it provide that academic support, but kids are there building positive connections to school and teachers outside of the classroom that then carry over and help inside of the classroom as well.
And then building on, you've already heard the admin talk a little bit about the AVID systems that we have at South Albany. We do try to distinguish that it's not just a program we have at South, but it is like system-wide. We were the first national demonstration school, and as they mentioned, we're about to revalidate in a little over a month. And so it's really a great opportunity at those showcases to highlight like what we're seeing in classrooms, not just in our AVID elective classes, but almost all of our teachers use AVID strategies in their content classes. And so during those showcases, we get visitors from all over the state that come in and get to do classroom visits and hear some of our highlights and data points about our school. And then we also do a staff panel and a student panel where they can do Q&A with the audience. So there's a lot of work being put into that, but it's gonna be really awesome. And then the kids that are in the AVID program, we have over 250 right now. We have 10 sections offered. And the last 2 years, we've had to add additional sections because we have so many 8th graders that apply that are qualified to be in our program. And then by the time they get to senior year, when we've really kept them on track, we have 100% of our seniors graduate on time. Last year, we had almost $2.5 million in scholarship money. Right now, we're on track to exceed that. I know there's one of our 2 senior classes already has over $500,000. The student you see pictured there, her last day was actually the day before winter break. She is currently in her 2nd week at Arizona State University, and she alone got $37,000 in scholarships. So it's a really strong system, really strong program that impacts all of our kids, and we're really excited about it and getting to revalidate. Questions for us? Amazing.
Thank you. Amazing. You know, the biggest thing I hear there is lots of great things. The biggest issue is we got to get them there to get it done, right? And so hopefully we got a lot of good programs, and we're focused on that as a district and as each school to, you know, think out of the box to get kids in the seats.
I'd just say thank you to you and your teams. Appreciate it.
All right, I'm back for the last slide, and this is kind of the lighthearted, fun note to end on. So these are just some things people have said amongst our students and our staff. So I love how charming South is. South is all about family. I love the amazing support of teachers. I love our fans and their Red Hawk spirit. I love the supportive atmosphere. I love how easy it is to get involved. I love how all of our student athletes come together to support each other. I love our people and staff. So that family vibe, that's what we're going for, and it sounds like it's working for the most part. Any questions?
I have one, but it might be for John or
Great.
for Tony or both.
I'll get out of the way.
I was like, I'm out.
So one of the numbers that jumped out at me in the presentation was 1,600, and that would be the potential enrollment number.
Someday.
And clearly I'm a little bit concerned about a situation where South Albany would be forced to move up to 6A because of the enrollment numbers. But what I don't remember is the the implications of the lunch program and that status. And I can't remember if there was a percent.
25%.
25% of your free and reduced lunch kits come off your total number for the
Okay,
say,
so we just went from 1,600 to 1,200, and the current cap is 1,260. So
We can
something,
hope.
No, it's a percentage of the free and reduced student percentage.
but we just,
They are deducted by a quarter.
but we just said everybody is free and reduced lunch.
The question you're asking, I think I understand. The glitch when you're 100% free and reduced lunch is the reporting gets difficult. They can determine, I think when they've been determining these formulas have had us about in the 60%. The fear will be you can get free and reduced lunch without filling out the form. And so how they track that, I'm actually a little concerned. I'm not quite sure how that will look because it's harder to track when families do not have to fill out the paperwork to get free lunch. So you're asking a question that's on all of our minds is how accurate will that number be? Or do we have to go back to really making sure that our families fill that form out? It's a difficult question. I wish I had a great answer, but the concern is there.
So we should figure that out. Yes.
I don't even
Yes,
think
we
you're
should.
handing the form out, man. I don't think they're turning it in. He's not even handing it
Based
out.
on that, there's a formula that they build now on, they develop poverty rate based on other factors that feed into it. And there's a difference and it reflects a higher poverty rate at South as opposed to West. We can share that with you and we can do some calculations on that.
It's there. I don't know what it looks like, but yeah, their concerns there. And we can hope maybe that Millersburg and places don't continue to grow at the rapid pace of 400 plus freshmen a year as well. So, but yes, that's going to be a good battle to take on. Because no, we don't want to move up, to be honest.
Right, and I don't know that the trend is our friend here because most of the growth in the community right now is Millersburg or south of your high school.
Correct. Trend is probably not our friend.
Okay, so I guess that's another day and another meeting, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can share the poverty rate and we can do a quick calculation for it,
Okay.
for both schools.
I mean,
Did want to
if-
thank Kylie for, if we forget, she let us go first. We have a basketball game, the snow and everything's moved things back. And so we're trying to run, if we run out of here, it's because we're late for a basketball game. We hear
Yes.
our girls won 55-40, I think.
They
against
did,
Corvallis,
just now?
something. Yeah,
Oh, if they won,
So-
text me the score, but if
All
they
right.
didn't, I don't want to hear about
they
it.
won.
Okay,
by
great,
15.
thank you.
So we're going to try to get over to the boys, but we do thank you. And I know that it's school board appreciation and I want to thank you. I could probably say anything I want because I'm retiring. I'm just kidding, I won't. But I do want to thank you because I feel like you trust us and you let us do our jobs. And that's really important to us because we all want to do a good job and we all have the best interests of our schools and our kids at heart. And when we have that trust, it makes our job much easier. Because none of us, including me, really want to mess up. We have good intentions every day when we go to work. And so we want to thank you because we feel really supported. And even when we might make a mistake, I feel like the integrity, you guys know what we're about, and we appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we move on to our next school report for North Albany Elementary. If you'd introduce them for me.
While she's coming out, real quick, are we worried about our high school enrollments getting too far away from each other? Are they both growing? Because I don't think it's a good idea if one high school has 400 or 500 more kids than the other.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an issue or not. We haven't heard Wes.
Keep going to 6A.
Didn't send it out last year to the board. There has not been a lot of concern yet.
Okay.
But that is, Roger's correct, the areas of growth are Timber Ridge area, south of,
Yeah.
south, and the West Albany catchment does not have projected growth.
Something to keep an eye on, I guess.
Yeah.
If his projection of 1,600 is roughly accurate, and we use roughly 60%. That puts us at like 960, and the cutoff for 6A is 1,005. Yeah. So, but if you
Yeah, there's a couple of things there that calculate off of that. We can share that. We
That
can
was
just
the
walk through
I
that.
think that was the bottom number. The top number's 1260, but it's,
And I think the last two times that reclassification has occurred, the poverty rates have generated schools that are pretty close together. And of course, the big variable there that we can't control is where they set the cutoff.
And now they're talking
Right.
about not counting the senior.
Enrollment.
There's some talk about that.
Yeah. Allow me to introduce our great young and veteran at the same time principal from North Albany Elementary. Kylie's been a principal here for quite some time. I really enjoy walking the school with her, seeing her rapport with kids and adults. Take it away, Kylie.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Kylie Soa, and I'm the principal of North Albany Elementary. I have been there for 7 years. Before that, I was the part-time dean of students at Memorial Middle School under Ken Gilbert, and taught there for 11 years prior to that. So I will start out with our demographics. We have seen a shift towards more diversity in our demographics in the 7 years that I have been there, and I think it has been one of the best things for our building. We currently have 13 classrooms, which is one more than we are accustomed to having. We have 3 kindergarten classes this year. North Albany is traditionally 2 classrooms per grade. And while every other elementary school came in just under projected for kinder numbers this year, we came in with 50% over what we were projected. So that was a surprise mid-August, and hopefully that is not a trend that continues because I don't have any more classrooms to put kids into. So here's our school report card from last year, our at a glance. Our student enrollment on that report card says 274. We're at 300 this year, which makes about sense with about the 20 more kids than we were expecting. Last year, our class size was around 23. It's about the same this year too, because we did have to add a teacher. Regular attenders last year were 70%, which was down almost 10% for us. That was coming off the heels of COVID and having some restrictions around when kids can come to school when they are showing signs of illness. Currently this year, we are at 91% regular attenders. So, and I am going to attribute much of that to success to my office manager, Patty Nordyke, because she personally calls every student's family that is not in school and has conversations with them. What can we do to help? What's going on? Here's what we can offer you. So I think having that personal touch by Patty, she is like our office manager and attendance liaison all in one. She's everything. She wears many hats. So I think like many of the schools, that personal touch is something that's really important to attendance. Our academic successes have gone up over the last couple of years. Those are a little bit lower than our average over the last several years as well. We have less than 5% English language learners currently in our building. We do have 5 languages spoken. We are sitting at about 12% special education. And last year, we're about 24 free and reduced lunch. We are actually on the community lunch program as well. So free lunch and breakfast for all students this year, which is always a really nice thing that our students and family don't have to worry about, being able to eat breakfast and lunch when they are in the building. So if you look at our statistics for outcomes, you can see our regular attenders and our English language arts and our math scores kind of all match together. So we have 85% of our licensed teachers are experienced with 3 years or more. I do have one brand new teacher this year that I hired on August 25th when we figured out we needed 3 kindergarten teachers. And that's always exciting. So we have a really wonderful staff full of teachers who are just willing to try new things in order to make sure that all of our students are getting what they need. in addition to our classified staff, who under the direction of our instructional coach have just blossomed and have become a really important part of our reading interventions, our math interventions, and helping to curb behaviors. I could talk about points of pride and promise about North Albany Elementary and gaps pretty much all night. In North Albany Elementary, we pride ourselves in having positive student and staff culture. And I think it's really nice to walk into a building where you know that there's an adult for every kid. And I have an incredible behavior team. My dean of students, who is new to me this year, they always take my dean of students. I've had like 4 dean of students, and they become administrators, so they're wonderful. Jana was my last one before this one, so that was wonderful. Let's see here. A huge point of pride for me, and I do talk about this every time that I come and visit the board. We house a special program classroom at North Albany. It's our structured support classroom, and we serve students in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade who are able to access general education as long as they have some structured support to help them with their behaviors or learn how to effectively manage behaviors with that support. And the goal there is to wean off the support as they grow and kind of teach them how to best move through school and give them tools to do that. So that's my absolute point of pride with this school. The staff for that is phenomenal, and our special programs team in my building, we currently have 1 structured support teacher and 4 full-time aides to work with our 12 students. And those 12 students come from all schools across the district. And they are just doing a phenomenal job. And it's really fun to see. And it's really great to hear from the middle schools how well those kids do after they move on. We have great PTA and parent involvement and get to do fun things. We have a trivia night coming up. And we have had movie nights in the past. Our rhythm and movements performances were supposed to be last week, and unfortunately they were canceled. They were supposed to be on Thursday at LBCC, but LBCC had to reschedule some of their own games. And so that's a picture from our last year's rhythm and movement from our fabulous PE teacher. But we had the whole side of LBCC's seating in the gym was full of parents and friends and family coming to watch them. So it was really neat. We have our individual problem-solving teams where we take a team of people who look at a student and see what we can best do to fill in the gaps or support them in the area that they're having the most trouble, whether that be in an academic area, in a behavior area, in an area outside of school that we can help connect them to resources. Our instructional leadership team, led again by my phenomenal instructional coach, Jennifer Gilder, has put in place new interventions this year. She's got our new assessment, iReady, new to us, going. All the kids have been taking it. It's doing wonderful. I was really hoping to have our winter results to compare to our fall results before this meeting, but again, that was scheduled for last week. So upcoming in the spring, along with trivia night, we have our life sports night that that Danae Stanfield Holmes puts on, and we have all like different active places from all around the community, different gyms, different sports teams, different martial arts places, and they all come, and we have little passports, and families go and visit kind of each one. So if they never knew that they were interested in martial arts, they have an opportunity to visit a couple of different things. They have an opportunity to find out what kids programs are at different gyms in town, have opportunities to find out what programs the Y or the Boys and Girls Club offer. So it's a really neat night. And something new that we're going to do this year, which I'm very excited about. I know you guys heard Jana talk about Family Math Night. It was such a success for Oak Elementary. We actually, Sue Turner and I from Oak Grove, wrote a grant through the Albany Public Schools Foundation to get that Family Math Night kits so that we can put on Family Math Night for Oak Grove and North Albany Elementary too. So I'm really excited about that. I think any time that we can get our parents involved in the academics, especially math, because the current parent generation learned math in such a different way than it's being taught to their children now. I think it's a really great bridge. So our focal student groups are English language learners and students with disabilities. So those are our 2 level 1s up there. And those are what we are working hardest to improve. Overall, we're sitting at a level 3, which means we are meeting the standard. But until all of those are green, that's not all students. So we are striving to get there. Barriers and challenges are across elementary school, I think, are very similar. Unique to my school, staffing my structured support class is incredibly difficult because a specialized classroom requires staffing with a very specific skill set. So, when I'm looking for people to work in my structured support classroom, I'm looking for someone who's got, trauma-informed care background and can have some collaborative problem solving and really understands that, the brain chemistry of trauma and how it affects behavior. So that's really a tough area to staff. So when we do find them, I want to make sure that we are giving them the best environment to work in so that they want to come to work and stay. So finding classified substitutes has been difficult this year, just because there haven't been as many to choose from. Certified subs has shown a lot of improvement. I'm very glad for that. And then, as always, I think in most jobs, focusing time to purposely plan and adjust. For our academic achievements, teachers always need more time, kids always need more time to learn and grow and cover all of the subjects that we need to cover. So time is always a challenge and barrier. So our school goals are based on the district's strategic plans, and I love a good streamline. So I love having the district goals connect to our building goals and having our teachers connect to the building goals, which then give the kids goals to work towards. So I love having the strategic plan. We are looking for equitable outcomes and systems for all students, rigorous and engaging academics as well. So we set a 3-year goal. And our 3-year goal is by June 2026, we will increase the percentage of students meeting their ELA benchmarks in reading by 10% each year based on the end scores as identified by literacy composite data. So I checked, we have one class that has not finished their iReady reading data. We have surpassed that goal already, so we're going to need to meet and plan a new goal, which is a great reason to have extra work. So if you look at the 57 students who were well above grade level, 56 students who are early on grade level, and out of those 121 students who are 1 grade level below, and this data set is looking at the current grade that the student is in. So early on in the grade level is where you kind of want to see kids at the beginning of the year. And yellow, where it's 1 grade level below, they haven't quite got the curriculum for that grade level, so they're sitting in a good spot to move forward. This data set was great to see because it does show that whole year's goal at one time. So this is the scale that I need to move. The criteria is not going to change. This is the school year's goals. So we are already about 50 more kids over into the early on grade level than we were prior to this. So like I said, it's a great reason to have to go in and change your goal. Goal 2 is the same, but looking at math. I don't have all of our math scores yet, but we are doing things to help raise our math scores, such as the family math night, getting parents more involved. We were able to schedule in math intervention into our daily schedule this year. I only have half-an-hour slots at the end of the day, so what we're doing is targeting different grade levels for 6 weeks at a time to make sure that we can fill in those gaps and do some accelerated learning where we notice the holes. So having time to do math interventions has been a huge help. I'm really looking forward to seeing the updated results on this because our beginning overall placements were lower than our reading scores. So if you take a look at that, we've got 58% that are in that one grade level below that I know will be able to move quickly. And then we've got about 60 kids who we've got a lot of work to do, but they have access to math intervention this year. So that's going to be very helpful. Things that people have said about North Albany Elementary. The best thing about NAES is how nice the teachers are and staff. The kids are also nice and kind. NAE has a great staff. The great staff members are welcoming and anyone can fit right in. NAE has some great systems in place for kids. I get a lot of good information about my kids. There's always an adult to help you when you don't know what to do. I know I can find someone to help me talk about things. Earning golden awards helps our class want to be the best we can so we can collect awards. And the best thing about North Albany Elementary is that we do fun things like art, PE, and reading. So all kinds of good stuff going on at North Albany Elementary. What questions can I answer for you?
Like the pun.
I do. So how much were the family night math kits? Do you recall?
Yes, we bought 2 separate kits
Okay.
between Oak Grove and myself so that we can alternate years. It was about $3,000. And we wrote a big impact grant through Albany Public Schools Foundations from both of our schools, and we're granted that money in order to do that. So
Are those kits you have to buy yearly, or do you
No.
use them over and over? and
no, we
over?
use them over and over and over,
Okay.
and they are tailored to grade levels. So if you do Kit A in first grade, by the time you do Kit A again in third grade, it will be working on a different skill with your family.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Happy
I would
School
just
Board
say,
Appreciation.
great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hang on just a second. Okay, I think we're on to a consent agenda for personnel classified.
I'll move to approve personnel classified as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any old business? Ms. Jane, do you have a financial report for us?
I do. So this report is the result of the sale of our transportation building. And what I am presenting to you is a proposal that Andy and I have put together to utilize those funds. And so the first thing, of course, that we want to do is pay off the loan that was taken out by the district. It's a full faith and credit loan, and we have the right to pay that off early. So that would be $441,000. And then there are 2 funds in the 2 sub-funds within the 200 funds that are just negatives from prior. And so that's South Albany and West Albany High School, $517,000, and the Fire Reconstruction Fund has a negative balance, $176,000. So that would leave us with $1.1 million. So then I'm proposing that we transfer $500,000 to our capital projects fund, and that's a fund that we started in this year's budget with both facilities and technology. And so we would be able to use that for the construction of a softball field. And then the balance, I am proposing that we put that into the bus replacement fund, which is also in the 200 funds. And I'd like to begin to transition the district from leasing buses to purchasing buses. So for this year's budget, we're on track to pay $845,000 in lease payments. And that is funded by transfer from the general fund. And that cost also goes into the general fund as transportation expense and is reimbursed at 70% from the state. But the reimbursement that we get doesn't pay fully the cost of the leases. Lebanon School District did this they transitioned from a lease to a purchase to save the district money. Salem Kaiser did it. But it takes seed money and it takes a plan. And so this would help, this would be our seed money to start that process. And so I'll pause in a minute for questions, but if you approve of this plan or similar plan, I will come back with a proposal for appropriation transfer. But I wanted you to have time to think about it, and then next month or next board meeting, when I give you the report, I would bring an appropriation transfer for those different funds. So I chose to do it through an appropriation transfer for 2 reasons. One, I wanted the full sale of the sale price of the receipt of the sale to show in the fund. And then I wanted to show through board approval the transfers out so that it was all very transparent. So I could have just deposited the money in all of these funds, but this is the path we chose.
Go ahead.
So, thank you. And I like the way you have this laid out. So, but you, so we transfer from the general fund, I thought I heard you say about $870,000 a year for buses, but then we're reimbursed 70% of that by the state.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really more like what, 250, between 250 and 300,000. I get, and one other question I have is, so how does the reimbursement rate impact the leases? Are you also reimbursed at 70% of whatever the lease rate is?
So if this is something that you are in favor of, I could bring you back more information of what that would look like. Over time, it will save the district money so that the reimbursement from the transportation pays for the new buses, so we're not supporting it with a general fund. That's the goal of that plan. Right now, we support it with about a $150,000 transfer from the general fund.
So I guess part of the reason I'm asking is I'm looking for more money for the construction of the softball field. I don't think we can do just one field. We would have to do at least 2. And we ran through the numbers, it's been 16, 17 months ago now probably, and we thought that we could do both softball fields and both baseball fields for $1 million total, and we had donations to cover, I want to say half of that. So I would just hate to embark on this and not get it done all the way.
So I anticipated your question, and my suggestion would be that we do not fully reimburse the South Albany High School, West Albany High School negative $500,000, but maybe we are reimbursing those with a small transfer every year from the general fund. So whatever we add to that will help us. So once we had an estimate for softball field, we could determine the transfer that went to reimburse the negative and the transfer that went to support the softball field.
Okay, so I want the ball fields personally. I think that this community and the school district and these kids deserve the opportunity to have equal resources with the kids in the other part of the league they're in and the rest of the state. And so if we can figure out how to do that and that we're going to get that done, I'll stay out of your numbers and leave you alone. And that ought to be worth something.
It's a deal.
I'm going to throw a little cold water on this. Sorry. And I know that Roger is really big into the softball and the sports arena, and that extracurricular activities are great. However, this budget did not address curriculum at all. And we have no curriculum funds whatsoever set aside? Or it's so small that it's irrelevant?
So we are beginning to look at all of our grant funds, our SIA, our Measure 98, and I would propose that that will be the place that we start to put in the reserves for the curriculum. That this is capital construction, a one-time chance to do these. The curriculum should be a part of our plan in our ongoing funds, like SIA, like Measure 98. And Dave and I were working on those grants, and I can see a path forward where we will build that in.
Over what kind of time?
I'll know more when I know the funding for next year and I know the bargaining results.
So being in the second year, it's going to be difficult to accomplish all three of those things in the coming year.
Yeah, I understand we have a finite amount of money. I got that. My personal issue is that we're here to educate. And I truly appreciate the extracurricular activities. But our first and foremost goal is to educate. We just had 2 schools come in and share with us their scores. And I dare say that I don't know that we're meeting all the state averages at this point. And so I'm concerned that enough effort's not being put forth to the educational portion of what we do versus the sports portion.
So how much money would you throw at improving scores?
Well, what will it take? I mean, we can both throw out generalities. I got it. And I understand where you're coming from. I do. And you've been very clear about what you wanted. And I also early on was very clear what I thought about doing with some of the money. And you've been obviously better at working the system than I have.
I would say that. But as a matter of principle, we get the majority of our funding from the state, and built into the requirements we get are updatings of curriculum. And it's a fundamental principle of mine that if you're going to give us these requirements, you have to give us the financial support to do that. And that to some extent is the solution to that. I just don't, you're, to me, I'm advocating one-time funds for ongoing operations. And we talk about budget cliffs as it related to the federal money we got, and we tried to be very careful about it and didn't do that. And so you can do that. We can spend all of it on curriculum. I don't know statistically that there's any assurances that we would move, based on the curriculum alone, that we would move test scores up a point. We're more likely to move test scores up by making them turn in assignments to get grades. And so, I mean, you're right. It's how we allocate resources is really, really important. We are always going to have a curriculum challenge, no matter how much money we have, until the state truly allocates what their mandates cost and provide that funding. And I don't see, based on my time here, another opportunity to make us as good as Central Lynn High School or SIO High School with facilities. And baseball, softball is the one activity, it's the one sport that can be rained out. And yet that's where we have the least investment, and that happens to us. So I appreciate the conversation, and it's a tough one.
And I was not suggesting that all the money go to curriculum by any stretch of the imagination. But we had talked about, in some of the meetings with the superintendent, about setting some aside for seed money so that the gap to bridge between the curriculum costs that we approved versus the money we have available, so that length of time can be shortened, as opposed to waiting for, I think it's already been 7 years since we.
On the cycle, yeah.
On the cycle, and we're past due, if I
Some
recall.
longer, yeah.
Yeah, so we're beyond that time window, and now we're talking about another couple, 3 years. So this is the kind of thing that I start to get a little concerned about, that we're spending, we're looking at this excess money that we weren't counting on, because the building sold for more than we anticipated, which is awesome, right? And so now the question is, what do we do with that? And so I just want to have a robust discussion on that and make sure that, while I appreciate the softball, I don't know if those would raise the scores either, right? More softball games, better fields. And at the end of the day, we are an educational institution. And so I just want to make sure that we keep our eye on that and find some sort of room to try to get us closer, not all the way, but closer on the curriculum. And this is something that maybe Jane can review and come back with us to some alternatives.
I think Sean wants to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not about what's suspended. I'm curious where it's going to come from. I'm curious how purchasing the buses, and is that a short-term savings of money, or is that a long-term savings of money with depreciation and maintenance and how all that will go as opposed to leasing?
It's long-term because we would avoid paying lease interest
Okay.
as we pay off the leases.
Well, also wouldn't the amount of maintenance and repairs that go into a bus getting in its older age be worth or cost more towards the end of a bus's life cycle, as opposed to we could just stop leasing the bad bus?
They're all leased to purchase.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that we remember that time is also a huge consideration here. Like, it's not just about one or the other, it's when and what we can allocate over time to these outcomes, right? So it isn't like you guys are saying it's this or this, and whatever we don't choose goes away entirely. I'd like to work with Jane and think about what that looks like and come back to you.
And again, I'm not expecting us to get the curriculum overnight. That's not what I'm saying, but some effort.
I had a question, whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, can you tell me if student activity funds, what usually comes out of those, and how did we get $500,000 upside down?
I don't have all the history of that. We
What are we
inherit,
paying out of those funds this year? Just to
Wasn't
give me an
it
example.
football field?
What comes out of that?
those are negative balances that were there when I came.
Okay, so that's like fields and stuff?
My recollection was football fields,
Oh, these are the turf
some
fields?
part of it.
I was told it was negative student body accounting funds, partly from the change to Red Hawk Rising, the name change. And I'm not sure what the other components of it were. And they were moved out of the student activity funds to balance those out to zero. And that slowly there was a plan to pay that debt off.
Okay, so because when I hear student activity fund, based on experience, to me that's the fees kids pay goes into an account that then the school uses to buy stuff. And $500,000 seems like a lot of money based
I
on that.
think it was expenses that shouldn't have been in a student activity
Okay.
fund.
Okay, so that's, okay, it is what it is. It was surprised me because that's, seems like a really large number for what I thought student activity was. And then the second comment I would make is the bus purchasing versus leasing sounds like a really important discussion that I am in no way prepared to answer right now, but I'm interested. But I don't know enough to know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. But that seems like a big idea for me to decide on right now. So I guess if I was voting, I'd say I would love to see the plan, right, and see it cost it out. But I wouldn't know that I'd pull the trigger on it today because I just haven't. It seems like a big deal.
So today I did not write the resolution of proposals. Today was just presenting this
Okay.
for discussion and thought.
Oh, so we're not voting on this?
No.
Oh, good. Okay, that's helpful.
Unless you make a motion.
Yeah, no, I'm not making a motion. That's helpful, actually.
Any other questions or comments on this? All right, let's go ahead into operations and bond report. Mr. Bullen.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if I can. Because we'll talk a little bit about just operations in general and go through some of our weather updates. One of the things I want to cite is our staff, and you've mentioned it, and Andy mentioned as well, our staff did a great job coming in, preparing our schools to start Thursday. It wasn't just me, it was all schools. Thursday morning, we had principals shoveling, we had custodians, we had volunteers shoveling to prepare our schools. Monday, Tuesday, they did a great job. And then we also, actually on Thursday morning, our staff don't have to report until it's safe to do so by contract. I would say to a T, all of our staff was either on time or extremely early that morning to come pitch in. So I'm really proud of them for their efforts. Lauren Stanley, our director of facilities, was instrumental Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday as well this last week. We're still continuing to do our visitations. I updated our totals. I'm watching this, and we talk about our barriers that get in the way of this. But since the beginning of the year, we've got 951 visitations to our schools, and I think that pays us a lot of dividends with getting feedback from our buildings about how we're doing customer service. So our weather-related issues this week, fire systems. Hopefully this video works. We had a cafeteria leak and the fire system failure at South Albany High School. That was our most substantial one. We filled the gym with filled the cafeteria up to the kitchen with about an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch of water. That'll be our substantial claim for us. We had outside fire sprinklers. We had 2 at South explode on us. We had 3 at Timber Ridge. And so those signal a fire alarm. And which activates the fire department to come on site, and they got those shut off for us. Actually, the one at Timber was shut off by Lauren Stanley, and the fire department responded to South Albany High School. Significant leaks, our most significant roof leaks were at Tequina. I have some pictures of that. We had some at Oak and North Albany Middle as well. And Calapooya Middle School, Ron Vetter, our plumber, responded to that. I think that was Tuesday night. That was an adventure. I got to go down underneath with Ron to the tunnels down underneath Calapooya. I'm glad Ron was with me because I wasn't sure I was going to make it out by myself. You get turned around down there pretty quickly. So there's your cafeteria at South Albany High School. You can see Tony up there on the Zamboni sucking up the water, but you can kind of see the shine in that left-hand picture where the Zamboni picked up water. The shiny stuff is the actual water in the classroom. The middle one is where up inside that little hole there is where the sprinkler exploded. And then the 2 rooms to the hallway, that's the band and choir room. I want to thank the band and choir teacher both for showing up and helping out with equipment, moving equipment around. They did a great job as well. But the water came clear into those rooms as well. Tequina on the left, I think that was Tequina in the middle. And then actually the one on the right is the roof at Timber, where we have roof leaks at Timber as well up there in the big arches. So those are kind of an example of the weather-related issues we had. Some smaller projects that are going on right now. Oak Grove, we've had some playground enhancements with the playground, with the PTC partnerships. West Albany High School, we have a power gate installation going in by the football field. We also have a gym projector that's down there working on. In Timber Ridge, we have some fencing that we're looking at in the back of that school. So that's some of the smaller projects we have going on. Sunrise Elementary is coming to you in the next board action item, bond related. It's central. Our units are scheduled to be delivered March 21st. Our safety railing is being installed. That's part of that project as well. And our South Shore Elementary, we're still working through some design corrections with that facility, but I'm not concerned that those aren't going to go well. So that's kind of where we're at with projects. One of the things we learned through this last snow event is I think it would help us to have a tool of snow routes established across our district. We ended up sending some communications out early in the day with spots where we couldn't safely get the buses, so we're going to do that. We had 4 cancellations, mainly due to illness with our transfer station staff in January. But again, I continue to report that because that's much lower than what we experienced last year. Facilities, again, a lot of work orders being created and completed. I already mentioned about the positive team response we had to weather, really proud of them. In technology, we hired a new director, Kathy Echemende. She comes to us with 27 years of experience from Salem Cottage School District. She started about a week and a half ago and is doing a great job for us. And again, technology, a lot of tickets, a lot of close, and they respond quickly. They do a great job. We're making progress in our desktop replacements that you guys approved a couple months ago. And Kathy's going around meeting with our building principals to finalize our building enhancements that'll be going on the rest of the spring and summer. So I'm pleased with that. Our food service committee that was part of an offshoot of the board committee last year, we reformed that committee again, and we're meeting monthly. We're actually going to start doing site visits and to get some more input from parents and students. We also are embarking on an administrative audit of our food service program. Scott, who I believe is still in the audience, our food service director, and Tara have done a great job with that. This is an extensive audit, lengthy, a lot of paperwork, but I think a lot of great learning for us of how we might improve our program too. So I'm excited to do that. It's a lot of work for them. But it should be a good result. Oak Grove, I want to update you on you heard a little bit about CEP. Oak Grove, you can see Oak Grove breakfasts are up 55%. Their lunches are up 52% since you folks voted to include them in the CEP. And West Albany High School's breakfast is up 35% and lunch is up 31%. So these are really good results to see that more kids are eating breakfast and lunch at both sites, at least for free, right? So our numbers are up quite a bit. I think Scott transitioned some additional staffing to West Albany High School to shorten our lines and to respond to that as well. That's all I had for this section.
Go ahead. You have questions?
No, great stuff, Dave. I hear over and over again from principals and teachers that your staff's getting out there and helping people out fix the problems. That's fantastic. And so very much appreciate it. And, it's kind of funny to me that most of those areas of damage were newer stuff, right? Like the fire suppression and all that kind of things. Those are the issues with the weather damage.
Yeah, and we can elaborate on this. Some are dry systems, some are wet systems. I'm still learning a little bit about that. Mr. Stanley, our director, would better respond to that. But some are dry, they're not filled with water, and some are wet, and our wet ones, our wet system is what exploded in South Albany High School. So we need to make sure in this process that we make sure that doesn't happen again. 'Cause since I've been here, this is the second time that's happened at South Albany High School. So we got to dive in and make sure it doesn't happen a third time. Insurance has been on site as well, and so we've done inspections. All of those sites are one claim and can be included as one claim, and I can bring that back to you when we get more information on that.
Surprised. Did you summarize?
You bet. So the next one is in your packet. It's a Sunrise Mechanical. I believe this project was brought to you before, and I think it was abandoned due to the cost. We went ahead and did a different process to bid this project, and we are using Triplet Wellman. You can see in the memo there, they've guaranteed a maximum price in your packet at $3,003,110. The handout that I put in front of you tonight shows that our beginning balance of the bond funds, this fits within the scope of the projects that we have remaining within the district, and which, if we choose to do all these projects and complete them as costed out here, it would still leave us with $1 million in the account. The highlighted project at the South Albany roof that's in the green, that project is closed out at that cost. So that's what I'm bringing for you for your approval today with Triple Wellman.
So on this spreadsheet, where is,
The bottom.
oh, that's the SRES mechanical?
Yes.
Okay.
I really like also seeing the fact that we're moving forward on Central. We're getting things, there's things moving, which is great.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, I had a quick question. I was looking through the bid. On the, as they were, what they submitted, there was some question marks and then no like dollar amount for those things. Is that something that, because there was maybe a column that says by owner? What are those things on the, what's the actual Sunrise bid day recap? I didn't know what those costs would be, or if that's something that they're gonna add in later, or if that's still gonna fit in under their.
They had the reason we were delayed from coming to you prior in the month was because they were waiting for bids to come in on that. I thought those were corrected and added into that. One was on roofing, I believe. Is that where it's at? Sean,
One is concrete, and it's just listed as a 0 now. I don't know if that was accurate or if it was still a question mark. I'm not sure. And then the other one was install owner supplied items. So item 1600 and item 3300.
They've moved them to 0, so there'd be no cost there.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was actually accurate or.
Yeah, the first row there is the September estimate, and the second row is the base bid cost.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So if I remember this right, we already own the units. This is just for installation?
Yes, some of the units are on site already.
So did we have other bids, or did we only have a Triple Wellman?
So a little bit different bid process, and I can come back and explain this further, but this is a CMGC process. The first time, this isn't just a bid design build process. So basically, Triple Wellman becomes our construction manager, general contractor. They can go out and cite different bids, and in this process, they have a different way. They don't have to go out and just go to the lowest bidder. They can go out and collaborate with bidders, design certain aspects of the project because it's a complicated project, and they can. It actually works to be a better cost doing it this way versus into just a bid design process. So they go out and they select bids from multiple vendors, working with those vendors to make sure we're getting the best cost value. I don't know if that's the best way to explain it for you at this time, but I can come back and explain it further.
Well, I think I've seen this movie. And it was the back end of all the bond stuff and everything we did. And I guess my question is, it's easy for me to say because I'm not installing it, but this is just the installation of equipment that we already own. And like everything else we do, I get it. It seems like a lot. And how do we know we wouldn't be better off just having hard bids?
I think that was tried before and abandoned because the way I understand this project, and again, I haven't been in all the planning meetings, so I can bring it back to you if you'd like me to, or have Triple Wellman come and explain further details about how they go out and get and secure the bids for us. But I believe in this process, they can collaborate more with the vendors that they're going out to bid for, and therefore, they don't have to go just with the lowest bidder per se, but in that consultation process, a lot of times you save money because the vendors have a different idea about how maybe to approach the project. This one is pretty complex. It's not just installing those units. It's plumbing, it's electrical, it's a lot of carpentry involved with it. It's roof access and going into the roof systems. So this one is a more complex project than just putting those units up on top of the roof. It's more involved. In fact, it said from what I've been told in this project, it's one of our most involved projects that we'd have for HVAC systems. Because I looked at that number too, and that was the answer I got when I asked about that number.
Yeah, line 23,000 is showing HVAC cost. Bid was 975, and then it kind of broke it down into base bid and then alternate 1, alternate 2. If we already own the units,
I believe that's for install. But I'd have to check with Triple Wellman to understand that clearly.
and is this a true HVAC system or is it air handlers?
Just heating and ventilation.
So HVAC is incorrect.
No.
Air conditioning.
Those units don't have AC capacity.
Okay, so I would say that the HVAC nomenclature is incorrect. Because there's no air conditioning.
I think that's just a general term that they'd use to describe that, but yeah, these units have cooling, just they have coolers in them, but it's not an AC unit.
More of a swamp cooler?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just suggest there was a gentleman on the bond committee by the name of Mike Sykes, former Albany City Council member, retired HVAC guy in the community. He had Mike's heating and air conditioning. Before we spend this much money to do an installation, it would just seem prudent to check in with him. Maybe you've already done that. But
In this process, all these different aspects of this budget went out to bid individually for each of these projects. So they had an opportunity to respond to a bid in that.
Now, to be clear, I wouldn't be advocating that he bid. He's retired. He's out of the business, but he was on the initial bond committee. He probably has some familiarity with this, and just as a second opinion or another set of eyes, if you will, and if I can do it if I have all the documents, if you need to, but again, it's a lot of money.
So what does that do to the timeline, Dave, if we were to do that and come back?
Doesn't affect our timeline at all. Triple Wellman is a respected organization. We've had great luck with them on other projects. They've done multiple projects in our district. I trust that they're giving us the best value possible with all this bid process. If we want to verify this with some folks, or if you want to have Triple Wellman come back, who can speak to these numbers better than I can, I'm happy to do that. He's out of state right now, otherwise he'd be here tonight explaining the costs associated with that. I would suggest if you want to, we could have him come and speak directly to the costs associated with he has more knowledge of it than I particularly do.
I think I'd like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so from what I understand, this time we're not going to entertain a motion, and we're going to ask him to come back and speak to us.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay. New business Waverly ground lease agreement.
So this has been a great project. We have two projects that we've been exploring with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm only an hour and 15 minutes off of my projection, so thank you for your patience being here. We have two potential projects coming to the district. One is at Meadow Ridge and some land at Meadow Ridge, and the other one's at Waverly. Without getting into details, I want to do Sean and Stephanie, and I'd like them to come forward if they would to speak a little bit. No, I was going to have you guys come forward and talk a little bit about. They're on the board.
On your way up here, could I get you to throw in the electrical work at the ball fields?
You want me to, with the ball fields, I thought you were going to ask for it at Sunrise.
Well, that's fine.
But this has been a fun project that we've engaged in. The lease agreement that's in front of you has been prepared by our attorney, Andy Bean, and this has been reviewed multiple times by Sean and John and myself. And so I want them to speak about what they're trying to accomplish here at Waverly.
So Roger, to your point, I think there's a study that shows that kids involved in athletics are much more likely to be successful in their high school and careers going forward. And a turf field would cost David less in his maintenance fees.
I thank you greatly for the input.
You're welcome. I don't know, did you give them the pictures?
Yep.
Okay. So what we're looking at Waverly is constructing a building of about 3,000 square feet that would have 2 classrooms, a technology lab, a restroom, and then an office area where we can deal with students and parents and that sort of thing. So let me back up. We now are running a satellite site for the Albany Boys and Girls Club at Waverly Elementary School with your guys' blessing. Before we had that site open, we were serving about 34 kids from that school. So we have a partnership with the Albany School District where you guys will bus kids to the Boys and Girls Club. And then we will, provide them with instructional time, athletic time, dinner. There's been a lot of talk about feeding the kids, so we provide a snack and a dinner for every kid that shows up. Now that we've moved on to the satellite site, we're providing services for 72 kids, so we've about doubled it at this point. Our goal is to serve between 125 and 150 kids on a daily basis there. So what we found was that same barrier somebody was speaking to earlier about transportation. So it isn't that the school district won't bring the kids to us, it's that their parents don't have the ability to bring the kids back home at 6 or 7 p.m. at night. So basing our satellite site within the school district property allows those kids to be able to walk back and forth to their home. And so therefore, they're better well served. They're not going home alone for hours on end. They're able to be there with other kids, instructional time, get a good meal, and provide some security and safety for them. So what we're hoping to do is construct that facility on the kind of the southwest corner of the property. We would still be utilizing the cafeteria and the gymnasium within Waverly Elementary School. This really just provides us with more space. So trying to interact with the existing staff there, we have maximized the amount of space that's available to us, and that's our limitation where we can't serve any more children there now. So the goal is get more space, we can provide more services for more kids. So working with Dave over the last several months, we've outlined the proposal for a land lease. We're not asking for anything from the district other than the ability to use the property. So we'll provide all the expense or cover all the expense for the building of the facility and maintenance and running of it.
You're welcome.
Move to approve lease agreement as presented. We've been talking about this for a couple of years. This isn't shocking.
I would
This is good
second the
stuff.
motion.
Any other discussion?
Well, I just want to know, when are you going to build it? How long will it take? And will it have any impact on school activities or school while it's being built?
We will make sure that we minimize any impact on the school. This was kind of one of our last steps to get through. So now we're going to start working with Udell Engineering, who did some work at this site already for you guys on the parking lot expansion. So he's already undertaking some of that. And then we'll finalize architectural drawings, and we hope to start this spring.
Okay. But you wouldn't anticipate it would get in the way of Waverly being Waverly during the school year?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Hanging in there.
Coming
Used to be a 16-lane bowling alley there.
Oh, and that's where it's going to go right there.
No, just look at it.
Okay, the next one is M2, integrated guidance, Mr. Bullen.
Okay, we'll zip through this. So this was in your packet, so I'm going to really zip through this and highlight some points. Some are just reminders on integrated guidance. So I'm going to give a quick review, go through each grant, and then answer some questions. And the appendixes on the end were for you just to look at the budget detail. Just a reminder, integrated guidance is about 6 programs, all one application, all one reporting process. They all support our strategic plan. Some individual processes will still continue. You'll still see the agreements, some of the individual agreements coming to you for approval, like there is tonight with the SIA part of it. One of the things I want to emphasize is the flexibility of these grants. So what you're seeing right now in budget, to change an activity or change a budget line is very simple and easy process to do. That happens quite a bit with all these grants included in here, that we can submit something to the state, modify it, change a number it's very easy, and these are pretty flexible throughout the year. They just still have to align with the goals of the programs, but a very easy process to do. So this isn't locked in stone. This is easy to be adjustable. One thing I want to talk about briefly is the collaboration of grants. What I've seen happening within our district that's really what I believe in with grants is that all the staff in our district that manage grants are really working collaboratively to utilize them to the best of the ability. When you talk about curriculum, when you do curriculum adoptions or other type of activities, they may need to fit multiple grants in order for them to be completed in whole. And that's what I see beginning to happen within our district is we're lining up these grants and we're seeing this activity could fit in this grant, this activity could fit in this grant to try to achieve the whole. And that's a real positive step that I think that we're taking in and will be enhanced over the next year as we do more interactions like this in the budget process. So really quickly, these are our reporting dates that we come back with the integrated guidance. So October 31st is our first one. That's what you're seeing tonight. I have permission from the state to be this late, and that's just because of our approval process has been late. The red ones is what I will be reporting to the state. The blue ones is when we come back to you and present back to you some of our activities. We were discussing doing this more often, maybe quarterly back to you that's on this calendar, but there is some reporting. Here's our grants and integrated guidance in a nutshell. You can see the largest one is a student investment account or SIA and high school success. So really quickly, career and technical ed, the state does have a 4-year plan with this, and it's really geared towards those CTE programs, some of which you heard to tonight, and commonly referred to as Perkins. So Perkins Career Technical Ed is pretty similar. Perkins funds are handled at the building level. Sean Saxon and Bryce manage those in the buildings. They work with the teachers there, and that's a consortia. So that's why you see it as a 0 on some of the documents. And it's held at the LBL. South Albany High School's request this year about 43,000. West is at 47. If you add those together, they're more than 86,000. You can ask above your requests because it's a consortia. Various supplies and equipment to operate and enhance those programs. I looked at the list that they have ordering. They're good stuff for those programs to keep them running. Early indicators, intervention systems. This is an offshoot of the Student Success Act. We get these to help our systems align and help keep our students on track to graduate. It's $3 a student. Right now, we're currently using this for some software to help us align to those. I think we're in discussions of possibly making a change here to one of those allowable uses over here. But if we make some changes, I'll bring that back to you. Comprehensive supports for improvement or CSI, targeted supports for improvement or TSI. These are CSI, TSI schools. So all the data that you see from the state, if you are at the school, if you're a school with a level 1, which would be the lowest 10%, we had 4 identified. They receive these funds to help assist them with raising test scores. These are additional funds that come to these schools. We spend these funds in these areas. So staffing is $200,000, and our 300s, which would be purchase services, are about $65,000, and the details for those are in the appendix. High school success, that was sometimes called Measure 98, was initiated by that ballot measure. It's really about improving graduation rates and high school students' readiness for college. The funding areas are dropout, career tech, and college level opportunities. And our funding level is about $2.4 million. Our indirect costs are there. You can see a large chunk of that goes to staffing. And then there's other breakout common areas that we have in the budget as well. So college level activities and support. There's funds directly given to each of our buildings as well. Large amount of that support CTE programs, ACT support, CAP requirements, and I'm sorry for that acronym. Basically, I think we failed to meet some areas with high school success, and that money is targeted to those areas. But I didn't study up on that today, but I believe that's correct. We also increased a technology and CT equipment advancement fund, and that's really to help support the technology needs in the CTE programs. So that's high school success. And lastly, the largest one, student investment count. Again, there's two goals: to meet the students' mental and behavioral health needs and increase academic achievement for all students. And there's our allowable use activities. And then our funding is broken out. Indirect is about 280,000, staffing about 6.5. Our 300 purchase services, just a little over $500,000. And our supplies and materials in our 400s are about 1.4 million. Some of that is curriculum. The curriculum in that budget is about $952,000, I think, but that's just our ongoing curriculum needs that we have within our district, not additional type purchases that you discussed before. I believe it'd be our hope that we start to build in those costs into SIA for curriculum moving forward within the next budget cycle and into the next year. I think that's where we need to look to do. In order to do that, we need to be able to move some of the staffing potentially out of this budget back into the general fund when we get more funds from the state. So that's a quick shot of integrated guidance.
Any questions?
The only motion that you have in front of you is just to approve the grant agreement, and that allows us to claim funds within this grant.
Yeah, so my first question is, did anybody bring the Costco-sized bottle of Advil? There's a lot of, what's the total grant funding stream and what's the grant pot of money? All these different, it had to be on one of these sheets, but there were a lot of them.
Well, you add those up, so
So let me make sure I've got them right. It's the Perkins, the Early Indicator, the Comprehensive Support, High School Success, and the Student Investment Act.
yes, sir.
Did I miss any of them?
That's it.
So that's 11 million. It's about $11,350,000. Could be off a dime or two. So my first question is, are we coordinating the grant resources versus our needs list and what is eligible to go where?
So that's essentially one of the primary tasks of budget this year, is thinking about the priorities and how we can, each of them have rules. So we have to think about how we operate within those rules so that we become as efficient as possible, right? And I think Dave mentioned looking at each of those and how they work together is really important.
Well, they all have rules, but their rules are all different and our needs are all different. And we have general fund money that could do this, but I mean, it's, my experience is it's quite a puzzle and quite a challenge to collectively best leverage all of the funds we get for what it is we are trying to do. And so what you're telling me is that we're going to do that. We're going to do that as part of the budget process. Okay. And so the action tonight that we would be making does what in relationship to that?
It meets a required point of approval from you, but it is not necessarily, we can never adjust it again. We do have the right to adjust it as we go forward. This just meets the requirement that the state has that you guys see it and approve it.
Okay.
The approval tonight on the second part of your packet is the grant agreement. So what I'm bringing forward to you is the Student Success Grant Agreement that's attached to your board packet. That agreement just says, now that we've completed the process with all of the longitudinal growth targets, This grant agreement's now coming to you, so Jane has the right in the system to claim the funds from the state. The plan is me giving you an update or information about the plan. Really, it all needs to be approved tonight is the grant agreement in your packet.
We're just agreeing that we're going to work within the rules.
Yes. And that gives Jane access to claim the funds.
Okay, I would move approval as presented, with the understanding that this is a work in progress.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, so close. Do we have any other business? With that,
I do.
Oh, wait.
So it has the updates, dates of entrance as we adjourn. Want to make sure that on the March 11th listening session, we change that time, right? To 5:30.
Correct, yeah, that'll be to
Okay,
5:30.
thank you.
It wasn't changed at the time.
Right, I just,
It'll be updated.
okay. Thank you, that's all.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.